extremely fast and get my point across very quickly, and then let other people go. So it bothers me when other people don't have their point ready.
Well, they're just like umming and uhing the whole thing.
Or they're like looking around for something. I'm like, you knew what we were going to talk about. Why didn't you just have something ready? Like I have notes to reference, but I'm not like trying to find the answer to a question.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, everybody. I appreciate you listening in. It is Infinity Sports. It is Monday. That means it's an attic show. So you're going to have to bear with us as we get a little bit choppy from time to time or black out on the screen. But it is Wayne G. I am joined, as always, by Sully.
Hey, how we doing, man? I missed you last week. I'm sorry, man.
No, it's just a Wednesday. We were together on Monday, so it's...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, it's true. Missed you last half week. That's right. That's twice, though, I've missed these NFL picks, and I was on a streak, man, so I need to get back in there.
Well, I'll go over how me and Ben finished, which was not good.
No, of course not. You guys are awful. I'm the horse of this show, dude.
I'm really good at picking winning golfers, but not football.
Hey, I mean, I'll tell you what. Picking winning golfers is much harder to do, so...
Well, we are going to hit into the video here. Enjoy, everybody. When we come out, we will go over our usual show.
Thank you for listening to this Belly Up Sports Podcast Network product. Some said we go belly up, so we made it our name, and we're still here.
Jordan. Oh, a spectacular move by Michael Jordan. Drives one out to deep left field. This one's got a chance to get out of here. Gone! 3-run Jimmy Jack first big league home run for Mike Trout.
Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler.
And an 81-point game. 55 in the second half. Ladies and gentlemen, you have witnessed the second greatest scoring performance in NBA history.
What is going on, everybody? Thank you for making it through the intro video. As I mentioned, I'm Wayne G. I'm joined by Sully. If you are watching us, it is most likely on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, or Twitter, because we're doing Twitter now. And if you miss any part of the show, obviously you can check us out audio-wise on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, or find the video show on YouTube. It'll be there tomorrow. We do a lot of visual cues. You don't want to miss a lot of that stuff. And if you want to hit us up on Facebook at Infinity Sports Podcast, Instagram at Infinity Sports Podcast, and Twitter at Sports Infinity 5. We are also at infinitysportspodcast.com. You can find all of our social media there, as well as our store where you can find great 12 is greater than 9 merchandise, Infinity Sports merchandise, and the Sully collection, green jacket, gold jacket. Who gives a shit? So, Sully, that said, I actually do have to bring up a point that Jesse likes to listen to the show, and he did mention that he thought I was crapping on you last week when I said that you just had the one item in there. And I said, no, I'm not crapping on him. I'm just saying we're talking about bringing more items, but that's the only one we have right now.
Yeah, I mean, I knew you've said that multiple times. You said we've just got the one item, but we're getting more in. I mean, no, I don't think you're crapping on me ever. I mean, you make your dumps pretty well known, so you're not shy about calling people out.
There's no subtlety to my calling people out.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. You know.
If you notice up in the left-hand corner, we are the Belly Up Sports Network. We're on there now, so it's great to be part of that whole network. And one of our big this is technically our first show. We did a couple last week, but this is technically our first Belly Up show. And then on Wednesday, we get the great interview with William Gates from Hoop Dreams. He was one of the subjects, him and Arthur Agee of the movie. I went and rewatched it again yesterday, and still a great movie. It kind of goes really quick through the freshman, sophomore, junior year. The senior year is about an hour and 15 minutes, so that's kind of the longest part of the movie. But I'm really excited to talk to him and about how his life's turned out, how the movie impacted him. It's a documentary, so they followed him around. It wasn't like a movie. And just kind of talking to him about, just life after basketball. And even he got to work out with Michael Jordan, before Jordan went to the Wizards in 2001.
Yeah, it's going to be a big interview. It's going to be really exciting. The movies or the documentary, I finally got a chance to watch it. It was great. I'm just really excited to, like you said, just ask him more about life in general. I love to we've talked about, with other guys, and other guests, the the backstory of it and the deeper side of it. And I'm really interested to talk with Mr. Gates about that. It's going to be a really great interview.
Now, we do have a pretty good show here for you. We obviously have a recap of the NFL Week 8. We do that every Monday. We've got Greater Than. I have Sully this time instead of Ben, so we'll see how it goes with our Greater Thans. We've got Sully's Prospects. It's kind of a new section that we're going to keep doing every show. And first things first, though, let's do the news. The news is brought to you by Invader Coffee. It is 100% organic, 100% air roasted, and 100% money back guarantee if you don't enjoy it. It is a veteran-owned business, so please support the troops. They support your freedom and drinking coffee. If you enter the code BELLYUP, all one word, you get 15% off your entire order. That is not just coffee. It is the beans. It is the pods. It is the creamers, which come with BCAAs in case you're into bodybuilding or weightlifting. So definitely a really cool company. BELLYUP, 15% off. Make sure you enter it. You don't want to pay full price. Who likes paying full price?
Nobody does. I put my order in last week. We should get it here soon, so I'll let you know how it is.
Now, the first bit of news that we want to bring up here, I have the Brooklyn Nets assistants. They hired Mike D'Antoni, Ime Okuda, who was, by all accounts, going to be a head coach candidate this offseason. He's now going to be an assistant with the Brooklyn Nets. And then we have Amare Stoudemire, obviously Nash's old teammate. Now, I'm not sure how Amare is doing coach-wise, but obviously getting D'Antoni as an assistant and Okuda, that's huge gets.
I mean, that's massive. They essentially now have like a 3-head coaching staff. It's going to be interesting. With Steve Nash being in his first year, I think this is a great, fit. Him and Mike D'Antoni have a great relationship. They really respect each other. I know Steve Nash likes his basketball mind, and Mike D'Antoni respects Steve Nash's basketball mind. It's going to be interesting. I love it. It's a down step for, I think, both of them because, like you said, I can't pronounce his name for the life of me. Okuda is was a head coaching candidate and, by all accounts could have had a job. So, and D'Antoni, obviously is D'Antoni. So they both kind of took a step down. So it should be interesting.
I think it's a great hire for Steve Nash because obviously we talked about a few shows ago, Nash has zero experience as a head coach. So having experienced head coaches with him and assistant head coaches with him, I think is going to be, he's able to lean on them. So I think a lot of the messages that he delivers as the head coach to the team are probably going to be coming from them. Like, this is how you should handle it. This is what you should say. But he still holds on to that authority. I don't think any of these guys are going to undermine him and try to kind of like show like they're the coach. I think everybody here is perfect for him.
I agree completely. I think the personalities mesh extremely well. Mike D'Antoni, obviously having the previous relationship is going to be huge. I don't think he's, like you said, going to try to step on his toes whatsoever. I think it's going to work out really well. And honestly, I think the Nets may be a pretty darn good ball club.
Well, with a healthy KD and a healthy Kyrie Irving, and they're already a playoff team without those guys. So.
I mean, Jared Allen's a really decent center in the middle. He's a good rim protector, and they've Karis LeVert and a lot of other guys that can play ball. I mean, they're a good team.
Now, college football news: we have Trevor Lawrence has COVID-19. He missed last game against Boston College, which was really tight. I actually thought Boston College might beat those guys. I almost was rooting for it because I wanted to be like, oh, I thought Clemson could beat an NFL team that can't even beat BC, who's a crappy college team. But now it looks like he's going to miss the Notre Dame game as well.
Which is a shame. I mean, that's probably the biggest game on their schedule. I mean, it is the biggest game on their schedule. And he's not going to be there, and that's a shame. I mean, I think Clemson can still win. I don't think Notre Dame's really that good. But, I mean, I would have loved to see Trevor there, and I'd have preferred to see Trevor there. I mean, he's the best player in college football, so anytime he's not on the football field, it's a loss for fans everywhere.
It is, and watching the game last week, like I said, I was rooting for Boston College, but it didn't work out that way. Really, once they started handing the ball off to Etienne, it was like you could see that his ability, and all he needs is a little bit of daylight, just a tiny bit, and he's gone.
Yeah, he's an NFL player. I've said this before on the podcast. He's an NFL player playing college football right now. He could have easily came out last year. He would have been the number one back selected last year. He's incredibly talented. And he's just in all facets of the game. He's powerful, he's fast, he's quick, he has vision, he can catch the football. It's not great. His pass catching ability, I think, needs to improve. But as a running back, man, the guy's scary talented. And, they're going to have to lean on him hard in this Notre Dame game.
The other bit of college football news, the Big Ten is back. So it's been back for a couple of weeks now, but last week we had Ohio State, Penn State was a big game. Having that here, it looks like Ohio State wins that game 38-25. Justin Fields, 28 of 34, only missed 6 passes, 318, 4 touchdowns, no picks. The impressive thing for Justin Fields, he completed a pass to 8 different receivers in that game.
Yeah, I mean, his receiving core is extremely talented. They're really, really good. And he's got a lot of weapons out there. And Penn State's, unfortunately, just a little outmatched. Micah Parsons took the season off. They still have incredibly talented edge rushers and things like that. But Justin Fields is just a man on a mission this year. The guy is looking extremely talented. And I mean, Trey Lance doesn't stand a chance to be the number 2 quarterback selected now.
And the other Big Ten news is obviously Michigan loses to Michigan State. Everyone's calling for Jim Harbaugh's head. And really, I think he's been there long enough to turn that program around, and he hasn't. So I have no problem if they cut ties with Jim Harbaugh after the season.
I'd have fired him. He'd have been fired today. If I was at Michigan, he'd have been fired today. I wish I knew we were going to talk about. I saw a stat. He's like 3-7 against Michigan State, Ohio State in the years he's coached there. And I mean, that's just unfortunately with those 2 teams, like those are the teams you have to beat, and he just can't beat them. I mean, Michigan State just lost to Rutgers. They just lost to Rutgers. And then they came back and beat Michigan. I mean, that's just embarrassing. Jim Harbaugh has to go.
And I don't think it's necessarily his coaching style, because I actually like him as a coach. I think it's the fact that he's just not a good recruiter. He doesn't get the top talent in there.
I mean, it's tough when you've got arguably the best recruiter in the nation in your conference, in Urban Meyer. That's right. It's Ryan Day now, but I mean, still it's Urban Meyer's program, and Ryan Day took that from Urban Meyer, and Ryan Day is an excellent recruiter as well. It's just Michigan football isn't what it is as anymore, and Ohio State is getting those recruits.
That's all I had for news was those items there, which leads us into, since we're talking about college football, Sullys top prospects. I wasn't sure how we were going to go about this segment. I know you obviously do very, very, very in-depth scouting of a lot of these players heading into the NFL draft, but long before then. And just wanted to kind of get your take, maybe with either the Big Ten coming back or whatnot. I mean, what are some of the top prospects you wanted to point out that you've noticed?
Well, I guess we'll just start. I don't want to go deep, too deep. We can go. Maybe we can do 5 at a time or something like that, because we can go gnarly if we want to go gnarly. Honestly, we'll probably start at the top because it's easier. The top prospects, I think most everybody knows who they are, but it's easy because then the deeper it goes, more guys will move up into that ranks. The longer the season goes, nobody's going to crack my top 5 that's not in it right now. I'll tell you that right now. These guys, we have 5, I think, generational prospects in this draft, which is unheard of. It's something we haven't seen in I think ever. The start is Trevor Lawrence. There's no shock there. The kid is just everything you want in a player. He's the highest prospect I've ever graded. And I think he's the cleanest prospect we'll ever see. At number 2, I actually have Penei Sewell. The offensive tackle from Oregon. He is opted out. Pac-12, isn't playing. He is not playing this season. I don't think he needs to. The kid is like I said before, he's the highest graded offensive tackle I've personally ever graded. I've been grading since 2005, so I don't have the pleasure of grading Ogden or Pace or guys like that. And then I actually missed Bryant McKinney too, unfortunately. But he's the highest offensive lineman I've ever graded. He is, to me, the perfect offensive lineman prospect. He's big. He's a mauler. He's a dancing bear, though. His feet are phenomenal. He's really just, I think, everything you would look for. And it's a shame Dwayne Haskins didn't work out, because Washington and Penei Sewell, I think, is an ideal fit, but it's more than likely not going to happen. Number 3 is Justin Fields. The guy is closing the gap but I don't think it ever will close. But, man, he is just showing his accuracy is incredible. His poise in the pocket, his decision-making is top-notch. He's also a really good runner and an undervalued runner, I think. He's not Cam Newton. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Michael Vick. But, bruh, I'm telling you right now, I think he's going to be a special player, and I think he's going to be a big-time player. The fourth guy I got is Micah Parsons, which I talked about with Penn State. This kid's just he's the sense. All right, so linebacker's a tough position to grade because I think a lot of linebackers can grade out very well. He is everything you want. He's 6'5", he's 240, he moves like he's 210 pounds. He can cover, he can rush the passer. I truly don't know how to explain him as a player. It's crazy to watch him play, and it's such a shame he's not playing this year because I would have loved to see him in that Ohio State game. Obviously, that's a marquee matchup on the schedule, and for him not to be in that game is unfortunate. But, man, he is scary good. And then Jamar Chase is just – if you built a wide receiver in a lab, it'd be Jamar Chase. The guy is so crisp in his routes. He's so at the top of his breaks. It's almost impossible to stay with him if he wants to leave you, and he's gonna leave you. His contested catch ability is top notch. His run after the catch is insane. The kid's built in a lab. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch him play at the next level.
Well, let me ask about Micah Parsons because you said it's pretty much everything that you want in a linebacker. I know last season you had an extremely high grade in Isaiah Simmons.
Yes.
I think even saying that maybe he was the highest rated player you had in the draft. How would you say he compares to Isaiah Simmons?
Isaiah Simmons is not your prototypical NFL linebacker. I think Micah Parsons will be a better NFL linebacker because I think he can do a lot of the things that Isaiah Simmons can do coverage-wise, except Micah Parsons will bang you in the run game. He is a filler. He is a stopper. Last year he had the second highest run stuffing grade in all of college football at a 94.5 according to PFF. He is just a monster, and that's where he's going to separate himself. He'll be able to cover your tight end and lock a tight end down, and he'll also be able to fill the gap and just knock you off your socks, which Isaiah Simmons cannot do.
A football question from Nick Harrington. Will the Patriots turn it around and make the playoffs? 4 games back in the division and just lost by a field goal to Buffalo leading division. Now, obviously we'll talk about the Buffalo game. Just answering the question from my standpoint, I don't think they make the playoffs. I think that it now looks very, very bleak. Unless they put Jarrett Stidham in and he can come to the rescue.
I was waiting for that.
But no, it looks really bad for them that you can't score any points. I do think that they still have a top 5 defense in the NFL. It's so good, but just they can't score any points. What's good about holding to a team to a 14 if you only score 6?
Nick, by the way, I appreciate you shouting out the comment, bro. That's my dude right there. I have said from the start I didn't think the Patriots were going to make the playoffs. I gave them 6 wins. And then I stuck to the 6 wins when they got Cam Newton. I don't think they may even get to 6 now. So, no, I don't think they make the playoffs. I had Buffalo to win that division from the start. I think they're a complete football team, and I think Josh Allen is a really, really good football player. So,
I agree. The Patriots are done. Not so much about Josh Allen. I like Josh Allen a lot, and I love watching him throw the ball. For me, the jury is out on Josh Allen like it is for you with Lamar Jackson. Like, I still need to see it longer because up until he's been really great this season, but up until this season he's been very inaccurate. So just to kind of see if he can continue long term. Well,
yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, he definitely needs to continue this ascent. Why I like Josh Allen is because he has gotten better every year. Yes, his accuracy was an issue, but it still has gotten better. And that's what you like to see, even if it only increases, from 58 to 61. That's the kind of thing you want to see, and that's what you're not seeing from Lamar Jackson right now.
Well, you enjoyed the segment last week. We're going to bring it back this week and see how Sully does. It is the section greater than, where basically we're just going to throw out 2 things, 2 items, 2 people, 2 places, whatever, and talk about who is greater than who, what is greater than what. I don't know if you want. I can kick things off if you want, just to give people an idea of what we're talking about here.
Go ahead.
Okay. So we'll start off with, this is one that's near and dear to my heart because it is about movies. And
Shocker.
The greater than I'm going to throw out there, hopefully you've seen both of these movies.
Let's hope.
Wyatt Earp, Tombstone.
I have not seen Tombstone, but I doubt it would be better than Wyatt Earp.
So it's a heavy debate amongst Western fans or people who've seen both movies. Here's the thing. The one reason to watch Tombstone, Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday is phenomenal. I mean, phenomenal. Like Heath Ledger Joker performance. Like he is,
really?
He's
I love
so
Val
good.
Kilmer too.
He's so good as Doc Holliday. And, not that, I mean, Dennis Quaid was good as Doc Holliday as well, but Dennis Quaid played him as very, very dark, a dark character. And Val Kilmer is a little bit more light, a little bit more playful, but still somebody you wouldn't want to mess with. So I would say the only reason I like Tombstone is because of Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday. But overall, Wyatt Earp is the better overall picture.
Yeah, I liked Wyatt Earp a lot. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Westerns. I'm not going to lie. They're not my favorite genre of movie, which my dad will probably be pretty upset about because that's all he watches. But, so to be fair, but Wyatt Earp, I mean, it's just a classic. I mean, I don't know pretty much anybody. Oh, wow, there goes, I like it, Nick.
Nick Harrington says Tombstone hands down. Easy, like I said, it's a debate. And he says,
now I got to go watch Tombstone. See, now I gotta go watch, and I love Val Kilmer. Ghost in the Darkness was my shit, dude.
Oh, I love Ghost in the Darkness.
That was my shit. Like, bro, I could watch that movie a million times and never get tired of it.
So what do you got for greater than?
All right, greater than. I know you're not a wrestling guy, but this is still I think a fair debate. All right, The Rock or Stone Cold?
So this is past the era where I watched. So I watched it. Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Ultimate Warrior was kind of towards the end of when I stopped watching it. I didn't really get into it as an adult as much, but from what I'd seen of the two, I liked Stone Cold better. I don't know how technical as a wrestler he was, but just as a personality, The Rock is great. I love him as an actor. But Stone Cold was just so cool and smashing the two beers and drinking them and just like flipping off the camera. He's just like, I don't give a shit kind of person. And I love that.
No, I agree. Stone Cold was the man. When he beat up McMahon in the hospital and he came in as the nurse or whatever, that was the best shit I've ever seen on TV. That was like what's when I stopped wrestling, was right after that. Stopped watching it, but man, that was great. That was so incredible. I just actually seen that the other day and saw it got into a long debate, so I wanted to spit that one out there.
All right. This one is somebody that we talked about a little bit earlier. This is Steve Nash, Jason Kidd.
Ooh, that's a good one. And quick question, like starting a team or just better career?
Just like who would you rather have, let's say?
As like your point guard, who would you rather have?
Sure.
Damn, that's a good one, Wayne. I think I'm going to go Steve Nash.
See, I like Nash, but you go ahead.
That 90-50-40 I think is just so sexy. So I love that stat. And I just think he could run an offense that I would run. So that's why. And I don't think Jason Kidd couldn't, but I just think Steve Nash would be better for the offense I would like to run.
So now my take on it was I love Nash as a shooter, and one of the knocks against Jason Kidd in his career was you could name him Ace Kidd because he has no J. And so it was you never heard that? That was always the thing.
No, that's fantastic. I will say, though, in the later years of his career, he was shooting like 38% from three.
Not too bad, but he just wasn't a great shooter. Nash obviously could shoot the lights out.
Out.
And Nash has the best court vision of any player I'd ever seen up until LeBron James. LeBron has ridiculous court vision. And he makes those really long cross-court passes that humans shouldn't be able to make. Mm-hmm. But as far as like just his court vision, where he saw every single player on the floor and where he knew everyone was going to be at every second, Steve Nash was second to none. The reason I take Jason Kidd is one, size. He's 6'5". Nash is about 6'1", so he had a little bit bigger guard out there. Two is his defense. Nash was a red carpet defender, fit in that D'Antoni offense perfectly. Jason Kidd was like an 8-time all-defensive point. So, I mean, all in all, and he gave you something like 135 triple-doubles just because, again, his size, he get more rebounds. So, overall, complete player. I just go with Jason Kidd because he's bigger, he gets more rebounds, and just a better defender against the other team.
No, I understand that completely. I mean, I don't argue with that whatsoever. I could easily make the argument for Jason Kidd as you did. I think it's more personal preference with Aaron Steve Nash in my offense there.
And let's see. Nick Harrington says Stone Cold in a close one over The Rock.
Yes. Agreed.
And I guess he has Steve Nash over Jason Kidd. So good. Yes. I love Nash. So yeah, either one. You can't go wrong with either one.
All right. Now I know you hate both of these.
Okay.
So you gotta watch one of them.
Yeah.
All right. Baseball or hockey?
Baseball.
Really?
It's an easy one for me. And again, this is not a knock on hockey. It's just that I don't know the rules of hockey. I don't follow it enough to really understand the intricacies. I played baseball growing up all the way through high school. I understand baseball. I understand the rules. I understand the nuance of the game. With hockey, people talk about, oh, that was a great, shift or a great. I don't even know what that means. So, like, for me to watch a game, I know what a goal is. I know what a save is.
All right, then let me change it. Hockey or soccer, then?
Soccer.
Okay.
Again, I played soccer.
Rules,
high school. I understand the game, and that I actually watch soccer still to this day.
Soccer or baseball, then?
Ooh, see, now that's where it gets tough.
All right, there we go. Soccer or baseball?
Soccer is because, again, I don't really enjoy either one to the point that I would take them over football or basketball.
Yeah, of course.
But soccer. I would turn on soccer, and I love watching a good break in soccer. It's still moving. It's nonstop movement, And the thing about baseball is there's too much just static. It needs to be constant movement. That's one of the reasons I like basketball. It is odd that I like football because football has a lot of static moments as well. But it's football. It's once a week.
Well, and it's also when it's not static, it's violent, which is fun to watch. I would agree it's soccer and then hockey over soccer for me, though, I think. Even though I love soccer, I just think hockey's one of the most exciting sports to watch.
All right. We have baseball. Nick Harrington says baseball is over. And then we have hockey is your game.
Yeah, for sure.
Hockey, if you're going to the game, yeah.
Yeah, there's no better sport live than hockey. Yeah. I don't know. Soccer live, though, is I'm telling you, you can bring in drums and anything you want, man. It's so much fun there.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. So, when we say soccer, right, we're not talking about DC United versus the Revolution, right? We're saying if you're going to go to a game between Man U and Man City, that's a game to go to, right?
I wouldn't even go to that game. You get fucking murdered.
It's an American.
They're serious. Yeah, for one, I'm an American in a jersey. They'd be like, let's just kill this fucking guy.
I'm going back to movies of mine. Stallone or Schwarzenegger?
Schwarzenegger. Not even close for me.
Really? Not even close?
Not even close for me. Yeah, I love Schwarzenegger. It's more of his bodybuilding career and life that I like about him. I follow half his workouts right now. Every week I do Arnold presses, shit like that. Arnold's the man.
All right, so for me, it's Stallone.
What?
It's Stallone because one, he's a better actor. Let's face it. I mean, Schwarzenegger is
either are good,
but Stallone can do drama. He did Copland. He was fantastic in that. Yes. Rocky, the first Rocky, he was very good in that.
Everyone thought he was playing a retarded person in that movie.
He was slow. He's not punchy. He was I'm punchy.
Yeah, I'm punchy.
But no, it's still because for me too, the Rocky movies that Rocky 1 through 5 and then extended, to me is the one series that if I had to choose one series, I had to watch them all the time. It would be Rocky over Harry Potter, Star Wars, Indiana Jones. I'm taking Rocky. I just love the whole series, with the exception of 3. I didn't like Mr. T very much. But you get those Rambo movies are great. And then, like I said, as he got older and you start seeing Expendables. Cliffhanger is okay. John Lithgow's good in that. And you've got, who is it? The guy from 8 Men Out there who's also in, he was Rowdy Burns in Days of Thunder. Anyways. He's a director now. He was Yondu.
I don't know actors like you know actors.
Yeah, I just know the stuff that they were in. I don't know the names. But anyways, I'm taking Sylvester Stallone over Schwarzenegger. I just think he's a better actor, and I just like his catalog a little bit better. Nick here says...
Kindergarten Cop, man.
I like Kindergarten Cop. Arnold, not even close. He succeeded at everything he did in life. Okay.
I agree.
Going back to work now.
All
right, thanks
hey, make that money, man. Deal them cards. Oh, that's cool. He was on break. I appreciate that, Nick. Thank you so much, bro. I work with Nick. Great too.
All right, what do you guys? So let's do a couple more of these here.
All right, I got you. Cake or pie?
Cake.
Really?
Because I like cake in pretty much all forms. I like vanilla cake. I like chocolate cake. I like strawberry cake. I do not like red velvet. Get that the hell out of here. Pie, I don't like it depends on the filling. Well, so if it's a fruit pie, I just have to be in the mood. Apple pie is fine for like Thanksgiving, I guess. Blueberry, cherry, forget it. I do like a chocolate cream pie. That's a good one. And I like, a good cheesecake. It's a pie, but I'm calling it a cake because got cake in the name. So cheesecake is taken. It's a cake. And it's not cheese pie.
Yeah, it's a cheese.
And then pumpkin pie is just gross. So overall, I like more cakes than pies.
See, I think I'm going pie because I don't like icing, or frosting, whatever you want to call it. Okay. So I'm not a big, like when I get cakes, like I usually just scrape the frosting off and stuff. But so I'm a pie guy, man. I'm all about the pies, man. I love pies, any kind of pie. See, but the other thing with pies is I get meat pies too. So I get empanadas.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is going to be my last one, and I wanted to keep it in movies just because this one's such a good one. Movie catalog, again, you get their entire catalog on a desert island.
Okay.
Tom Cruise, Denzel Washington.
Denzel's my favorite actor of all time. Not even close. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. You should have picked somebody over Denzel. I've met Denzel. I mean, you should have picked somebody over. He was at a hole in the wall driving range on this, like it's got a mini golf course and like a twisty treat in front of it, and we were sitting there driving balls, and you couldn't get like within two of this guy, and we looked over, and I go to my buddy, I'm like, dude, that's fucking Denzel Washington, and he's like, no, it's not, and I'm like, yeah, it's Denzel Washington. I go over there, and I'm like, I couldn't even say anything. I was like, Man on Fire. That's what I said to him. That's my favorite movie of his. And he goes, yeah, and he was a cool guy. He wouldn't let us take a picture or anything. He was like, hey man, just let me do my thing. And I was like, yeah, for sure. Thank you. I love you. Bye. Yeah. But Denzel for sure. Pick somebody other than Tom and it'll stand a chance.
Yeah. So for me, it's Tom, because I just love Days of Thunder, Top Gun, Jerry Maguire. I mean, I just love all those movies. And Denzel's great. By the way, I think Malcolm X is just a phenomenal movie. I love that one. But a lot of Denzel's roles, I feel like he's always Denzel. I don't feel like he branches too far from who he is. I feel like Tom Cruise is a little bit more diverse, so you can get a more diverse catalog with him. Whereas Denzel, you're basically going to get Denzel as himself in this movie. With a handful, I love Remember the Titans. I love John Q. Like I said, Malcolm
John
X
Q.
Yeah. But not enough.
I don't know. I think he's got a big enough catalog. I will agree that his newer stuff is more just kind of like shoot 'em up, kind of being a badass stuff. But I mean, those are dope too. So I think his earlier stuff, I think he showed enough range and showed what he could do as an actor. I respect the shit out of Tom Cruise because he does all of his own stunts, and I think that's bonkers. But like after like Mission Impossible, like 2 or 3, I think it was, like I didn't really watch many of them, so that like kind of lost it for me. So yeah, he's a Scientologist too, right? I don't like that.
Oh, what he is? I'm sort of like racist against religions.
No, Scientology isn't a religion. It's a quack job, and I am prejudiced against cults. Yes.
Well, Christianity was a quack job when it first started.
First and foremost, I don't believe in religions or anything like that. I don't have anything against them, but Scientology is a quack that takes your money and is never mind.
So, well, I don't know enough about Scientology, and maybe some of our listeners could enlighten me a little bit more. I know that I was part of the Mormon faction a little while back when I was younger. And the thing is, Mormons are a little weird too with some of their beliefs. But the way I looked at it was this, because I'm more of agnostic now. I don't really have a denomination. But I do feel like, they're all kind of quack jobs. So I can't really criticize one over the other.
Yeah. All
right. So what's your last one?
To be fair, I want to make it personal. I'm not like bashing any religion or anything like that.
I was just having a hard time. I wasn't seriously like.
No, I know. I just want to make sure. Scientologists believe like an alien came down and like is their god, and I don't know. It's weird, man. And there's like
I've been watching
levels.
Ancient Aliens, and it might be possible.
Well, that's different. This is like it's a certain guy, and it's like levels, and you have to give money to rise the levels in the religion, and it's wild, bro. It's not. It's just more culty than anything. Like Mormons at least have like a base of like religion and values and things like that. I think it's completely separate. But my last one: chicken or steak, or chicken or beef.
Chicken.
Yeah.
I don't like red meat. I don't like steak at all.
Really?
I don't like. I mean, I like hamburgers, but I have to be in the mood because I remember when we first started doing the show. You're like, dude, how many cheeseburgers do you eat? I do like burgers because it's all ground up, but I don't like steak, and I don't like pot roasts, and I don't like shoulder.
That's surprising.
Yeah, but chicken, I can go chicken nuggets. Any sort of fried chicken. I do only white meat though. I don't like the drumsticks or the dark meat.
You're a fucking heathen.
That's better. The white meat's better for you.
No, it's not necessarily true. What makes you think the white meat's better for you?
Because I heard that a long time ago and I believed it.
No. No, the dark meat just has more flavor. But yeah, I mean, I'll eat them all. I love it all, but I think I love chicken thighs. Chicken thighs are my shit. I eat like a whole rotisserie chicken a day anyway, but man, those thighs are my shit. I'm probably chicken too, just because it's cleaner. But man, I don't get cravings for chicken like I get cravings for like steak and red meat. So it's a tough choice for me.
All right. So we are going to go into football. Before we do, I do want to say that me and Ben, as I mentioned earlier, we were awful in our picks last week. We didn't get through all of them. I was 2-6 against the spread, and I was 4-4 over under. Ben was 3-5 against the spread and 2-6 over under. So definitely very bad week for if you were betting with the show, because you usually do because Sully's on here. You really lost some money. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just keep riding your horse next time. And if I'm not on there, don't try to get it because I'd have saved your butts, guys. I had another winning week this week. So
the Falcons on Thursday night, 25-17. Hey, they didn't choke away a victory. How about that? They do improve to 2-6, and the Panthers dropped to 3-5. Another game, we talked about this last week with Teddy Bridgewater. He's 15-23, so fairly accurate, 176 yards, but 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Again, the Panthers just can't seem to get the ball in the end zone, and they still have all 3 of their receivers played. Samuel played, DJ Moore played, Robbie Anderson played. I don't understand how they're not getting the ball in the end zone.
Honestly, can't figure it out either. Like Curtis Samuel scored twice, and they're using them in different ways. Robbie Anderson was pretty much, non-existent in the game. It's surprising because everybody's been torching Atlanta, and you would think, Carolina could expose something, but I don't know. Maybe Teddy Bridgewater's just not as good as we thought he was. Maybe he's not making enough downfield reads. I don't know what the problem is. I mean, when you're only, 25 isn't a ton of points. Obviously, it's not ideal. But if you're only giving up 25 points, some of these games you need to be winning, I feel like.
Well, especially with Matt Ryan, who's been on fire recently. He goes 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, so he doesn't really have the greatest game. I did want to ask about Julio Jones, Julio Jones has 7 catches for 137 yards. I feel like there's no way that they can trade him. Or he's driving up his trade value, because at the start of the season, I would have thought you could have gotten Julio for like a 4th-round pick, and now I think you'd have to give up a 2nd to get him.
Yeah, I don't know about a 2nd. I think you could finagle a 3rd, but yeah, he still holds a ton of value. So you're gonna have to get something back for him. For all he's done, he's still the 8th graded wide receiver in the league according to PFF. The only guys ahead of him are Adam Thielen, DeAndre Hopkins, Keelan Allen, Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, Travis Fulgham, which is a surprise, but guys like that who are studs. So, you may be right. It's just his age and his contract make him so difficult to move for value. That is.
Well, I feel like his contract's not that bad. It's $20 million per, which is what you would give a top flight receiver anyways. And he's good through the next 3 years, which maybe that's the downside of it. So you have him for 3 more years. and through he's 34 years old. But I'm thinking the way he's playing right now, I mean, why wouldn't you want this guy for 3-60?
I don't think I'd let him for 3-60. I mean, I think the cliff would fall off, and they've got to be asking a steep price, or I think he would have been moved at this point. So I'm honestly not sure because, I mean, Green Bay is interested in a lot of receivers around the league. I think he'd be a really good fit there. So, I mean, for a second, I think it'd be a cheap price for Green Bay.
Well, speaking of Green Bay, they lose to the Vikings 28-22. Not a great game. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, again, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, almost 300 yards passing. The big story here, I think, was Dalvin Cook, who had 30 carries for 163 yards and 3 touchdowns, and 2 catches for 63 yards and a touchdown. So 4 total touchdowns for Dalvin Cook. Here's my question. Is he better than Alvin Kamara?
When he's healthy, he may be. I think he's a better, between the tackles runner for sure. I think Alvin Kamara is more, useful in the passing game. That's not to say Dalvin Cook isn't useful, but Alvin Kamara is essentially a slot receiver. But Dalvin Cook as a runner, I think, is better.
All right. I know that Dalvin Cook, obviously, either way, Dalvin Cook has a quarterback who's not quite as good as Drew Brees. And we'll get into the whole Drew Brees thing. I have a whole thing about that later. But yeah, so that was my question, was whether he was better than Kamara. What do you think about the Packers falling to 5-2 to the Vikings? I mean, these are the games they have to win. I mean, I don't mind if you lose to Chicago because of Chicago's defense. It's just going to happen, but you can't lose to Minnesota.
No, you can't, especially the way they were playing. They just need help. I mean, if you take Devontae Adams out of that offense, it's pretty tough to succeed. And Aaron Rodgers had a decent game, but again, that defense too, last year in the playoffs, they got exposed and got ran all over, and Minnesota exposed them again. You can just run on this team. If you bear down and get physical with this Packers football team, you can man up on them and show them, they're little bitches, essentially, because they get run all over. I mean, if you have 35 carries or whatever it is for 160 yards, I mean, that's a beatdown.
Well, one of the games I'm going to pat myself on the back for, because I said take the Bengals in the money line. And the Bengals came out 31-20 over the Tennessee Titans. Joe Burrow, 26 of 37, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, no sacks. He was not sacked in this game. So it's amazing if you keep your quarterback upright, he can actually win games for you.
Shocker. No, I mean, all this talk that Justin Herbert better than Joe Burrow, I mean, I didn't like any of it. Justin Herbert can't win ball games, and I feel like Joe Burrow can, and I think that's where the separation is. I fully admitted that Justin Herbert is better than I thought he was, but he ain't no Joe Burrow. Let's be real, people. Joe Burrow is going to be, I think, an all-pro quarterback in this league eventually. I love what he's doing in Cincinnati with what's around him. No Joe Mixon, Gio Bernard getting the job done. Tyler Boyd's, I think he's a solid number 1. He's not going to break anybody's top 10 or top 15s, but I mean, the guy just produces every week. He really does. So, I mean, they get some defense over there. They're going to be a solid ball club.
Now, I would be remiss talking about a Bengals game if I didn't mention that T. Higgins had 6 grabs for 78 yards. So another great game for T. Higgins.
T. Higgins has turned into a good little player there for Cincinnati. I didn't think he could separate in the NFL, and he's doing that. I got to tell you this. I haven't watched a ton of games, so I don't know exactly how great he's actually doing outside of the box score. So, I mean, I'd have to get a little more in depth, but all right. He's the 30th graded wide receiver in PFF. He's got a 75 overall grade, and a 78 receiving grade. So that's good. I mean, anytime you're in the high 70s, you're playing really good football. So, I mean, good for him. I was wrong.
And, AJ Green, only 2 grabs. Is he going to get moved before tomorrow's trade deadline?
They got to be asking for too much. And honestly, with his play and what he looks like on the field, I don't think I'd move him. I don't think I'd give anything more than a 5th for him, if I'm being honest. So I think it'd be really tough to move. I think it'd be extremely difficult.
Even to a team like Green Bay, who's desperate for receiving depth?
I just think, why would Cincinnati move him for a 5th? I think they can get more out of him. I think he stands more value to them for a 5th, but no, I don't think a team would view him worth more than a 5th, kind of thing like that.
Yeah.
Obviously the Packers could use him and would give up a 5th, but I don't think Cincinnati views him as, I think they view him more than a 5th rounder.
Well, the Jets continue to prove me wrong. When they were 19-point underdogs going into the game, I said, 19 points. You got to take that spread.
You
got
have to.
And yet, they can't cover the spread.
Look, I agree. There's no way Clemson beats the Jets. But I don't think they lose by a lot. The Jets are not good, man. That is not a good football team. They just traded arguably their best linebacker in Avery Williamson now to the Steelers. I mean, that team's a shit show. I don't know I'll tell you, if I'm Trevor Lawrence and Adam Gase is not fired by the end of the season, I don't play football for them.
Yeah, definitely pull Eli Manning / John Elway and just say, hey, no thanks. Send me somewhere else. And the thing is,
be like, I'm not playing. Draft me if you want.
You're not really putting the Jets in a bad spot by doing that, because I think that for that number one pick and him being there, the Jets can still get 3 first-round picks for that first overall pick.
Yeah, I mean, especially if like I don't know, let's say Washington finishes with the second worst record, or I don't even know, another team like that desperately wants a quarterback and needs a quarterback. The issue becomes, honestly, you need somebody at 3 to move up, because somebody at 2, I think, will be fine taking Justin Fields and not giving up their whole future. So somebody at 3 would need to move up, and then at that point, you're not getting either quarterback. You're not getting Lawrence or Fields. So, what do you end up with? Like I said, I think the top 5 is filled with generational talents, because you could still end up with Micah Parsons or Penei Sewell there at that point. But, I mean, neither one is as good as getting Fields or Lawrence.
So Patrick Mahomes, after playing like crap in Denver, has 416 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. So what kills me is I love Russell Wilson. I really love Russell Wilson. I love Aaron Rodgers. But I really don't think that anyone other than Patrick Mahomes should be mentioned as the number 1 quarterback in the NFL.
No, it should never – until his play falls off a cliff. It doesn't matter how good any other people play at this point. He is playing the quarterback position as good as you can play it. Yeah, he may have a bad game, but like the kid is everything you want in a quarterback. Literally everything. He has the arm talent, the accuracy, the decision-making, the Brett Favre ability to just create plays and do that. That pass to Travis Kelce, he literally threw underhand. Like, he literally threw the ball underhand to Travis Kelce. Like, I mean, the guy's just – he's as good as it gets. I'm so thankful I get to watch him.
And we have the Colts 41-21 over the Lions. So Ben, the Colts are his team, but he picked against them here, as did I. Phillip Rivers, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Jordan Wilkins had 20 carries for 89 yards and a touchdown. The question for me in this game, before we get to just how bad the Lions looked, is Marvin Jones had 3 catches, 39 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's another name that's on the if your team needs a receiver, he might be available.
Well, I don't think so now. Kenny Galladay went down, so I don't know if Marvin Jones gets moved. That'll be interesting to see. But, I mean, why would you ever take the Lions over the Colts? I know I'm pretty high on the Colts, and shocker, they're 5-2 and a great football team. I mean, they're just going to win a lot of football games. They're just built to win football games. They're not exciting. They're not fun to watch. They're just built to win football games.
Well, I couldn't help thinking, watching some of this game and going through the stat line, is thinking about Joe Burrow and his talent, right? And if the Bengals cannot protect him, he could be Matthew Stafford, because I think Matthew Stafford has all the talent in the world, but just has gotten injured throughout his entire career, just taking a beating.
I 100% agree. I mean, Joe Burrow could very easily be Matthew Stafford. I mean, it obviously depends on what the team does and what they build around him. I mean, I think that's with any quarterback, to be fair.
And let me ask you this. When it comes to teams like the Lions, the Browns, right? There's just teams that can never seem to quite get out of the basement. What is it? Is it how can you go through like 3 general managers and none of them make good picks, none of them make good signings?
I've never understood it. I'm a Bucs fan, so I've lived the life of a team in the cellar and in the basement. I truly don't understand it. It just seems like you're cursed at times, and every decision you make turns out to be a bad one. I think what happens is you try to, in the NFL especially, you try to change. And when you build a ball club one way and then you change and do something completely different, well, that ball club is going to be bad because you don't have players that fit that scheme and things like that. And I don't know. I think it just takes time, and these owners don't give these general managers and coaches enough time, in my opinion.
The Steelers win 28-24 over the Ravens. They go to 7-0. I actually thought this was going to be their first loss because that Ravens team is so good on defense, and they do the ground and pound. I mean, J.K. Dobbins had 15 carries for 113 yards, so he played really well. My concern with this game was Lamar Jackson having 16 carries for 65 yards. I said it last year. I love Lamar Jackson's talent. I do think Lamar Jackson can be a pocket passer who gets out of the pocket and gains you yards when it breaks down. I don't like them running that pistol, option offense.
It's because he can't be a quarterback. They have to. He's shown he can't play quarterback. He makes bad decisions, bad reads, and is inaccurate at times. I mean, he just is what he is. He's not a gimmick quarterback because I do think he's much more than a gimmick quarterback, but I agree. I mean, you're never going to succeed if your quarterback is a run-first option, and I think Lamar Jackson is a run-first option, and that's my issue with them. And then the Steelers are just, I mean, they're too good. That pass rush is just scary with Bud Dupree and T.J. Watt. I mean, those guys are animals out there, and they just beat people. And then they lost Ronnie Stanley for the year. The Ravens did. He's the best left tackle in the league, arguably. So you lose him, and I mean that's a huge loss. And then they couldn't do anything after that. He was just pressured every down.
Well, this stood out to me because the first receiver I picked in my fantasy football draft was Marquise Brown, and he comes out after the game and says something after he has one catch, and he says, what's the point in having soldiers if you don't use them?
I mean, it's pretty tough to disagree. I mean, he doesn't get a ton of looks, and it's tough too when your quarterback isn't looking to throw the football. And that's just what it is. He's just not, if you're not his first read and you're not open, he's running.
Yeah, I don't know. I love Marquise Brown's talent. I think he's great. And I think that should be your first read and your second read before you start looking at other players. Huh?
I would agree completely. You'd think it would be that easy, right?
This was a favorite of mine. The Miami Dolphins, 28-17 over the Rams. Tua Tagovailoa gets actually. The announcers always say Tango Vailoa. I always say Tagovailoa because there's no N in his name.
It's Tug. It's Tagovailoa.
Tagovailoa. Okay, so there's no N, but they always say Tungo or Tango.
No, it's Tagovailoa.
Okay. Anyways, he gets his first career win.
Yeah.
Plays it out kind of like a game manager, right? He only has 98 yards passing, but he has a touchdown, no interceptions, and I think he's going to be fine. I actually am looking forward to him getting a little bit longer leash. I want to see him throw the ball 30 times and see if he can throw like put up Herbert and Burrow type numbers.
Yeah, I mean the issue is he's playing the best defensive football player to ever play the game of football, so it's pretty tough to do that. I mean, he dropped back his second play of the game, and Aaron Donald had a strip sack in the second play of the game. And that was just kind of the tone of this game. It was all turnovers. Miami, I think, forced 4 turnovers in the first half. They scored a defensive touchdown, returned another one to the 1-yard line. They were up, I think it was 28-7 real quick, and just kind of made sure they didn't lose the game more than anything. But, I mean, he didn't look bad, and that's the good thing. He did not look – his accuracy was good. He made good decisions. He made quick reads, and that's important. So I think he can go up from here and play more. But, yeah, I would love to see his leash expanded a little.
And you mentioned something, maybe we'll talk about it in a couple of shows, because next week we get the interview. Best defensive player of all time. I know you'd asked me about it. I said Reggie White. I know you said they're on their own tier. You said Reggie White playing the edge. You give a little bit more credit to Donald for playing the interior. I think Reggie White could have played the interior, but I think just the way that those defenses were back then is your best pass rusher was on the exterior. But Reggie White was 292. He could have played nose tackle and wreaked havoc.
He did. He did play defensive tackle for a year, and I'm pretty sure he got like 15 or 16 sacks. He split the season, between defensive end and defensive tackle. So yeah, he could have very easily played it. and I'm not saying he couldn't. I'm just saying his majority of his career was based on the outside, and that's where he was getting his pressures and his stats and his sacks, where Aaron Donald is doing it from the inside. And so I just put a little more weight into it. I don't know. It's just everything I've seen. He just makes grown men and all pro players and Pro Bowl players just look bad and just look like they're not good at football. And it's just so impressive to watch him play. And God, I mean, to me, he's the best defensive player I think I've ever seen play the game of football.
All right, fair enough. Now here's I'll save it for another greater than, but I'm thinking Lawrence Taylor, Derek Thomas. I feel like Derek Thomas was misused for part of his career, and it's unfortunate. But when he played outside linebacker like Lawrence Taylor or that outside edge position, I mean, Derek Thomas was an absolute monster out there. So, I mean, 7 sacks in a game is nothing to sneeze at.
And I'm pretty sure he's got a 20-sack season too, which is hard to do. I mean, rarely people do that. I mean, there are plenty of people that would argue that Derek Thomas is the best pass rusher, pure pass rusher of all time, like just pure pass rusher, which it would be tough to disagree with. It really would.
Next game, we mentioned it earlier. Unfortunately, we do have to talk about it. The Bills win 24-21 against the Patriots. Now, I watched the entire game because up here in New England, that's what I watch. I watched the Patriots game. I watched every snap of the game, and it looked like they were going to get down there and they were going to tie up the game with a field goal and possibly even get a touchdown and win the game. And Cam Newton fumbled the ball on a rush with a minute left in the game, trying to kind of make something happen. And he gained like 7 or 8 yards, but then lost the ball. And they were in field goal range. Like I think they were in like at the 20, so they were well within field goal range. And they would have tied the game, I think. Yeah. So it's just very disheartening. I think at this point, and I mentioned it last week with Ben, you have to just throw Cam Newton out the door and start Jarrett Stidham for the rest of the season, because at this point you have nothing to lose. Like, why not just see what you got there for 6 games, 8 games, and see if he's your quarterback of the future? Because if you just keep playing Cam Newton, I think you're going to maybe win a couple games. Maybe you go 8-8. Now, maybe you do worse with Stidham, but you don't know until you play him.
I 1,000,000% agree with you. At this point, it's what do you got to lose? You're not going to win the division. You're not going to catch Buffalo. You know, this game was huge because now this game puts the split there and gets them that 1-game gap, because they have the tiebreak essentially with the head-to-head win. So at this point, it's just a lost season. Put Stidham in. See what you got. If you have a legitimate quarterback, then that's one thing you don't have to worry about next year, and that's one hole you don't have to fill. If you don't know what you got, then you go into the next season with a question mark, and that just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, this seems like a common sense decision, and it's like I don't understand why we're having this from such a well-run franchise. I really don't understand it.
I don't know either, and I don't know if there's some sort of issue between him and Bill. I know there was some rumors in the preseason about him not taking it seriously, not really studying the playbook and spending more time doing personal stuff. And I know that that's the kind of thing that Bill will hold over your head for a long time if you're not showing you're committed. The Cleveland Browns lose again, this time to the Raiders 16-6 in a completely ugly game that nobody would have wanted to watch except for Browns and Ravens fans, and even them, I'm not even sure. But the Browns dropped to 5-3. They're still pretty good. Derek Carr looks okay, but only 112 yards. Passing was really the Josh Jacobs show, 31 carries, 128 yards. Nice to see them handing the ball off to him, because I mentioned when the Raiders played the Patriots that he only had like 8 or 10 carries. I'm like, why aren't you giving this guy the ball every single time unless you absolutely have to throw it on a 3rd and 9?
Yeah, I mean, their offense should be based on running the football. I mean, that's what they were, their identity was last year, and they should continue that. Cleveland looks like a mess without OBJ, which is weird. I mean, only put up 6 points against that Las Vegas defense. I mean, Las Vegas isn't known for their defense. They don't have a great one there. It's a little surprising that this game finished 16-6.
David Njoku had 1 catch for 19 yards, another name that's mentioned at the trade deadline. He wants out of Cleveland. But again, his production has been so little this year that really, what do you get for him? He was a 1st-round pick, and you're only going to get a, 6th for him?
Yeah, but exactly. And that's the kind of thing, like, does he do more value for your team if you just keep him? at this point, because you're only going to get a fifth or a sixth. So, does that really bring you anything at this point? But at the same time, do you want a disgruntled guy that's going to be a problem for your locker room or something like that? So it'll be interesting how it plays out. I think a team like that our team should invest in a talent like that. So
the Broncos win 31-30 over the Chargers. The Broncos have looked pretty bad, but this one they don't look so bad. I guess they hold Justin Herbert to 278, so he doesn't go for 350 against them, which is nice. He does have 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Drew Lock, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, so he in a way kind of outplays them. Looking at the carries, Melvin Gordon, 8 carries for 26 yards, Lindsey 6 for 83. I know at the start of the season I was talking about, Melvin Gordon, why are you even giving the ball to Philip Lindsay? But he's kind of outplayed him the last couple of weeks.
Well, Phil Lindsay was hurt, and then Melvin Gordon, I believe, got sick or got into the issue with the DUI. Something happened there, and he had some issues that he was out for a game or two. So, I think running back should be essentially by committee unless you have somebody like, Zeke or, somebody like that who's a true dominant player. And the Chargers just can't find a way to win ball games. It's really weird. They just find a way to lose more than they find a way to win. And for all the stats Justin Herbert puts up, if you can't win ball games, I don't want you on my team. So,
the next game we have here is the Saints win 26-23 over the Bears. Drew Brees, 31 of 41, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Before I get too far with the rest of these stats, Brandon Combs of Triple Shot Sports had made the assertion that Jameis Winston would be better for the Saints. Drew Brees is holding them back. And I said, Drew Brees is having his 6th consecutive 70% completion percentage season. You really think Jameis Winston is going to be an upgrade over Drew Brees?
I mean, he has this love affinity for Jameis, and I think at this point just wants to be proven right, because there's in no way that Jameis Winston would be better for this team right now, especially with no Michael Thomas and things like that. This offense is just stagnant and just finding a way to win, and the way they do that is with Drew Brees checking plays and doing things like that to get Kamara open and scheming guys open. There's no way Jameis would benefit this offense.
I do think he's
wild. It's not shocking from Combs, though.
I do think he's their future starting quarterback. I just think that you wouldn't make a switch while they're 5-2, and he's playing great. Now, the other thing that happened at the end of this game, I have a video here, so hopefully we don't get booted for it, but this kind of happened, and it interested me.
Thanks, I'm not so sure. This happened well after the play. I mean, it's over. The play's over. Whoa. I don't even know what that was about.
Neither do I. I don't have any idea what that was all about. Still with me there, Sully? Can you hear me? You're kind of frozen up here. All right. Well, Sully's oh, I see your mouth moving. I don't hear any. Oh, there we go. All right.
Okay, I was frozen on the game. I could.
Oh, Sully just got booted. All right. Well, anyways, guys, we are actually an hour and 3 minutes into this, so we have a couple games left to go through after this. We'll see if Sully signs back on. If he does, that'll be great. We'll actually get his take. Here he is right here. Let's see. Welcome back to the podcast. Hey, you're nice and clear now, too. You're not blurry.
Hey,
All right, so what were you saying about the fight? What do you think?
So I believe Sim said CJG or CGJ, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who's a Florida Gator, by the way. Go Gardner-Johnson. Spit on him. And he has family, and Sims has family members who, if catch COVID, will be potentially fatal to them. So I guess he's saying that's why he reacted the way he did. The NFL will look into that, I'm assuming, and figure all that out. I can't see spit. Now, it's not zoomed in or anything like that. I can't see a spitting motion. I can't see anything like that. But that's apparently what Sim said.
But he went over to him. He wasn't even involved in the play with him. He walked over to him and threw a punch. So unless he means like earlier in the game he spit on him, and now this was kind of him going after him.
No, so he walks over and he flicks his mouthpiece out of it. He pulls his mouthpiece and throws it out of his helmet, or flicks his mouthpiece out of his helmet. That's the initial move. And then after that, he's saying Chauncey Gardner spit on him, and that's when he throws the 2 punches at him.
Oh, weird. But why go over to him in the first place?
I don't know. I don't know why he approached him in the first place, or even if it happened earlier. I don't know. It's a weird situation. It's not going to work out well for Sims, I don't think. I think he's going to get a 3-game suspension, I think. So we'll see. Appeal it down to 1, probably.
The Seahawks win 37-27 against the embarrassing 49ers. Jimmy Garoppolo hurts himself again, and by all accounts, it looks like Mullins came in and played even better than him with 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. So even if Jimmy Garoppolo comes back, I know you've got $100 million still due to the guy, but it seems like he's not their quarterback. Like, he just has these games where he'll have a good game, but then he has 2 crappy games, and then he'll have a good game, crappy game. He's just not a consistently good quarterback.
Well, especially this season, he's been plagued by the injuries. That whole San Francisco team. George Kittle's, I think, out now with a broken something. He's out for, I think, 8 weeks now. So that whole team has just hit the shitter, unfortunately. Poor San Francisco. But I don't know if it's just the injuries this year that plagued Jimmy G. I'm not really sure what it is. Now, obviously, that offense is very friendly, so I think any quarterback that comes in is going to look good. So Nate Mullins, I don't know if he's the future, obviously, but, I mean, who knows? Who knows right now? There's just so many injuries, it's tough to assess the team fairly.
And the last game of the week, which was another ugly one, Philadelphia Eagles beat the Cowboys 23-9.
Skip it.
I'm
joking, but I mean, this is just like you said. No, this is just ugly football. Like I understand they don't like, but with the schedule adjusting they're allowed to do now, they need to get this shit off of primetime football.
Yeah.
Like, this can't be your fucking Sunday night game. It just can't. Like, that can't happen. This cannot be your Sunday night football game. It was impossible to watch.
I think before the season started, they expected this to be a much better game. You probably thought the Cowboys were going to be 5-1 or 5-2 at this point, and it was just going to be a battle, but both these teams are bad. The one thing that I do like is, like you mentioned, Fulgham kind of coming up as one of the top receivers there. We'd mentioned Ward. Rieger looks pretty good. So, I mean, receiving is starting to look better. Maybe that's just the product of Carson Wentz, but he didn't look particularly well with 2 interceptions.
He looked like shit. Yeah.
And I did see that.
I'm surprised we didn't get a comment from Jesse, honestly.
I did see that Jalen Hurts came in, completed a pass. I'm a big Jalen Hurts fan, and I'm not in any way advocating that the Eagles should make the switch, especially since they're number 1 in the division right now. Just keep riding that horse. But I wouldn't be surprised if going into next year, it's no longer Carson Wentz's job. It's a quarterback battle in the preseason. I
mean, you don't take a quarterback in the second round to sit him. It's just a wasted pick at that point. So what are you doing it? I mean, I agree that I think a backup quarterback should be valued as a top 50 position on the football field. I think it should. It's tough to it's tough to justify the pick in the second round if the guy doesn't get to play, I think, is kind of the point I'm making. And so at a certain point, you got to at least see what you have.
And the last game is our Monday night game. We get to make our picks here. The over-under is 45 with the Giants and the Buccaneers, plus 13. I mean, the Giants.
I've seen it at 12.5, but we'll stick to 13 if you want.
Okay. This is based on yesterday when I was doing it. The Giants, I still think the Bucs cover the 13. I think the Giants are just really, really, really bad. I still don't like Daniel Jones. I've mentioned that. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a 3-interception game. However, like most of these games, I expect it to be like 30-6, and so they're not going to cover the 45. So I think it's going to be Bucs give up the points and take the under.
Man, me too. And that's what's sick is the score. I have it 31-6. So that's sick that you said 36. I think it's going to end 31-6, 31-9, something like that. Yeah, I think Daniel Jones is going to have a long day. Our defense is just too good. Jamel Dean's the number 2 graded cornerback in all football. Carlton Davis is like the number 12, I think. Our secondary's incredibly good. Our pass rush is good. Devin White's, a top 3 linebacker in the league at this point. And then the weapons, I don't see any way the Giants can try to stop any of our weapons. So I think it's going to be a pretty comfortable win tonight.
Well, it's another great show. Definitely, if you're still with us, tune in for Wednesday. We have William Gates on the show. We're going to ask him all about hoop dreams, and we're going to ask him about basketball in general, life in general. And I have a feeling it's going to be another one of those good, like Silk Kozart type of interviews. And I actually emailed Silk to get some questions from him. He sent me over some questions because I said, Silk, you're a big basketball guy. You've done documentaries. What would you ask him? And so he sent over a couple of questions as well. So definitely.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we'll post those to him as well. So that's that. Definitely thank you guys for watching. Sully, I don't know if you want to do your thanks and then kick it to Kenny.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. I know you guys missed me in my picks on Wednesday. Don't worry, I got you this Wednesday. We'll win some more money if you're down for that. I appreciate it, everybody. And, hey, yo, Kenny, that's you back there, bro?